I suspect I was not the only one, as you were listening to their backgrounds, who felt horribly, horribly inadequate. I did turn to John Cornyn and say, what the heck have we been doing with our lives? I mean, Johnny, you're a Navy SEAL with a degree from Harvard Medical School. That's just ridiculous.
Indeed it is. And how could it possibly get more ridiculous than that?
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest NASA astronaut, Jonny Kim.
So joining us now is a U.S. Navy SEAL and a physician as well, and also an astronaut.
He's the first Korean American to be assigned to the space station and moon mission.
He was one of 18,000 applicants to take one of 12 astronaut positions.
He can kill you and then bring you back to life. And do it all in space.
Listening to that story, it seems a world away. But at the same time, it seems like it just happened.
Jonny Kim, Navy SEAL, doctor, and now astronaut. This impressive portfolio is one that very few in the world can match. I was curious about what circumstances brought him to take on all three of these amazing careers. So I gave him a visit to learn more about his backstory. One big thing I learned was that his life was not always on a path to greatness.
Yeah, so first generation Korean American, my parents immigrated to the States. Growing up for me there were some hard times growing up.
Johnny's father was an alcoholic and frequently abused his wife, as well as Johnny and his younger brother.
With the abuse, most of it was directed at my mother. It was not as direct with us. Certainly there was, the belts, the feet. I remember always kind of being scared to go to sleep. There were times where being woken up with a cold glass of water to the face was what would happen, or being woken up and being asked which of my possessions I had to choose what he would break in front of me. And I understand a lot of that was just to hurt my mother, and he did a good job of doing that.
For Johnny, it seemed as if there was never going to be light at the end of the tunnel. To him, he and his family were forever trapped. And that was just the reality. One fateful day, however, Johnny's life would change forever. In the middle of the day, Johnny's father unexpectedly came home from work, his breath reeking of whiskey. After years and years of fighting with his family, it seems that Johnny's father had had enough, and he was ready to do the unspeakable.
My father came up to me, and some of the last words he said to me was, "I'm sorry, Jonathan," and he pepper sprayed my face. Then all I hear in the kitchen is my mother screaming for help and saying, "He's got a gun." I remember clearly pleading with him that we loved him and that he didn't have to do this, and I clearly remember saying that it's not too late.
Then, for the first time in Johnny's life, a miracle happened.
I think maybe clarity or grace. In a moment of clarity that my father found, he decided not to shoot us, not to kill us. And I told him to go run, just run. And he did. He left the back door, and that was the last time I saw my father.
Hours later, Johnny's father would return to the house unnoticed and sneak into the attic. He was shortly discovered by LAPD officers who had been there to investigate the incident. It is likely that Johnny's father was still very intoxicated and may have even attempted to shoot the officers, so subsequently, Johnny's father was shot to death.
The detective I talked to, he said, "Son, I'm sorry to tell you, but your father is dead." And I was just emotionless, just stone-faced. And he said, "I take it that this is not bad news. Is this good?" And I said, "I'm just relieved, sir." And he said, "I understand, son."
Jonny tells me that this was his first ever life or death situation, and it was definitely not his last. However, unlike his first, the life or death situations he would find himself in years to come would at least be on his own terms.
You know, when people ask me why I wanted to be a SEAL, it's so easy to come up with the superficial reasons. Like, yeah, I wanted to get paid to blow up stuff and jump out of planes and serve my country and shoot guns. But those are all fake, superficial reasons. Those are absolute pluses, but that is not why I wanted to be a team guy.
Jonny realized that his ambition to become a Navy SEAL was completely born out of his childhood experiences with his abusive father.
I wanted to transform my life. I wanted to learn the skills, to develop the strength, to become a different person, to find my identity. Be someone that could protect the people that I loved that couldn't protect themselves.
Fresh out of high school in 2002, Jonny would enlist in the United States Naval Special Warfare Command and endure rigorous training to become a SEAL. After completing this training, Jonny would then be deployed to the Middle East on 2 separate occasions, participating in over 100 combat missions. At the start of his first deployment, Jonny had finally felt a sense of belonging and, strangely enough, happiness. He had finally achieved his childhood dream after all. But war was war, and it was only a matter of time until Jonny would truly experience firsthand the pain and suffering associated with it.
I talked a little bit of how my father has shaped my actions to become a SEAL. Well, the events that unfolded on August 2nd, 2006 were much more formative in shaping what I do and will do for the rest of my life.
During an operation, one of Jonny's best friends, Ryan Job, was struck in the face by an enemy sniper. Jonny, who was serving as a combat medic at the time, realized that he needed to get his friend out of there.
There's not much you can do as a medic in that type of situation. I'm not keeping Ryan alive. I'm keeping his airway open, stopping the bleeding, and that's it. He's keeping himself alive. And the definitive care he needed was a surgeon. He needed to get to an operating table stat.
His superior officers, however, refused to transport Ryan to Camp Ramadi, a nearby military outpost, as they had direct orders to divert elsewhere. Immensely frustrated, Jonny would continuously argue with his superiors until they eventually gave in after noticing Ryan's condition worsen. Although Ryan would survive, he became permanently blind and was forced to retire from the Navy. Sadly, he would unexpectedly pass away a few years later during a surgery related to his injuries.
I could have done something more. I could have stood up for my friend a little bit more. I don't know what I could have done, but I could have done something. Ryan deserved better.
Just a few days later, another one of Jonny's good friends, Mark Lee, would be shot to death in combat.
I made a promise to not just those two, not just to Mark and Ryan, but I could list a long list of names of people we've lost. That the void created by those warriors that would certainly have done good for this world, that I owe it to them to be a positive mark in this world. And that can take many forms. For me, that was why I wanted to be a physician.
After just one deployment, Jonny had made his mind. He was going to become a physician. While becoming a SEAL for him was all about protecting the people that he loves, becoming a doctor was all about saving them. Moved by the work and dedication of the doctors, surgeons, and nurses that he worked with in the military, including those that saved his friend Ryan's life, Jonny decided that he too wants to pursue that line of work in honor of the friends that he lost. Serving one more deployment in the military, Jonny would then go on to do his undergrad at University of San Diego, and then his Doctor of Medicine at Harvard Medical School.
Dr. Jonathan Kim.
All my father wanted me to do was go to Harvard Medical School, and that's not the reason. At least I tell myself that's not the reason why I did it. Maybe it is. Maybe some psychologist listening to this is like, oh, that's totally why you went there. I wanted to be impactful, and to me, going to Harvard was giving me a bigger platform to be impactful. It wasn't the name, it wasn't the brand, it wasn't the education. You'd be fooling yourself to think that going to Harvard is going to make you a better doctor. That's not true at all. You would be just as good of a doctor anywhere you go to in this country.
After graduating, Jonny worked in emergency medicine at 2 different hospitals. At the same time, however, another calling came out to him.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The first time I heard about NASA and this opportunity, I don't have a great story for it.
While studying at Harvard, Jonny had met veteran NASA astronaut Scott Parazynski, who inspired him to apply to become an astronaut candidate.
2, 1.
Jonny learned from Scott how profound of an impact NASA and space exploration has had on not just America, but humanity as a whole. From addressing fundamental questions we have about our universe to advancing technology, Jonny saw that this career path totally aligned with his promise that he made all those years ago to bring positive change in our world in the name of those that he loves.
So once I learned a little bit about that type of impact, and that you can have a huge impact on the next generation of explorers, of scientists, of people who want to be a better version of themselves, maybe I could reach out to those kids, just like me, who are scared, tired, who don't think they can amount to anything, who don't think they're worth anything, and let them know that, hey, it doesn't matter where you're from. With the right attitude, with the right hard work, if you get up every time you fail, you can amount to something and you can do positive work.
Jonny was one of 12 candidates selected from a pool of 18,000 applicants to join NASA's astronaut program. In December of 2020, it was announced that Jonny would be joining 17 other astronauts in training for the 2024 Artemis moon landing mission. This mission to the moon, which is the first in almost 50 years, will pave the way for future space exploration, including the colonization of Mars, which will largely benefit the future of humanity. It is safe to say that Jonny has left and will continue to leave a positive mark on our world. Not only can this impact be seen through the incredible work that he has done in his 3 careers, but also through him sharing his story with us.
That scared little boy that grew up under my father's shadow, I never thought I could have been a SEAL or a doctor or an astronaut. You can be born with bad cards. You don't need to have it all, but you have a choice and the power to craft your own destiny. All those experiences, while they were terrible at the time, I wouldn't trade any of that for anything. Because every thing that happened helped form me into the person I am today.